Have you ever stopped to wonder what the cruelest punishment in human history might have been? Not something invented for a horror movie, not a legend passed down through the centuries, but real methods carried out by governments and rulers who believed fear was one of the most powerful tools they possessed. Some of these punishments were designed to do far more than end a person's life. Their purpose was to slowly wear away hope, to force confessions, and to remind everyone watching what happened to those who challenged authority. It's difficult to imagine people living through experiences like these today, and yet, for centuries, they were considered justice. So, if you have a few quiet minutes, settle in, maybe grab a cup of coffee, because tonight we're stepping into some of history's darkest and most unsettling chapters. Welcome back to Files from the Ashes. The Rat Dungeon. Picture yourself in medieval London. The city is cold, overcrowded, and far from the romantic image many people imagine today. Narrow streets overflow with waste, disease spreads quickly, and the justice system is known as much for fear as for fairness. Deep beneath the Tower of London, hidden below layers of stone, there was a prison unlike any other. People came to know it as the Rat Dungeon. It wasn't large. It wasn't elaborate. In fact, it was little more than a cramped stone chamber where almost no daylight could reach. A prisoner would be chained so tightly there was barely enough room to move. Time quickly lost all meaning. Minutes blended into hours, then days, surrounded by silence and complete darkness. Until something changed. The River Thames would begin to rise. As floodwater pushed into the underground passages beneath the tower, countless rats fled the water in search of dry ground, and eventually they found the cell. At first, there was only a faint scratching somewhere in the darkness, easy to dismiss. Then another. Soon, the sounds echoed from every direction, tiny claws against cold stone, soft squeaks, the rustle of movement growing closer with every passing second. The prisoner couldn't see any of it, only imagine what was waiting in the darkness. One rat appeared, then another, then dozens more. Fear quickly became as overwhelming as the confinement itself. With nowhere to run and barely enough space to move, prisoners desperately tried to push the animals away, but exhaustion always arrived first. Arms grew heavy, muscles failed. Eventually, many simply no longer had the strength to resist. Historical accounts describe prisoners being left inside these cells for days. The darkness, the isolation, the constant presence of rats. Together, they created a punishment that attacked the mind just as much as the body. The goal wasn't simply death. It was to slowly erase a person's sense of hope until nothing remained. Now, imagine another room inside the tower. At first glance, it doesn't look especially frightening. Just a long wooden frame, a few ropes, a simple turning mechanism. Nothing about it hints at what it was built to do. This was the rack, history's most infamous torture device. A prisoner's wrists were fastened to one end, their ankles secured to the other. Then, very slowly, the executioner began turning the handle. Nothing happened immediately. That was intentional. Each turn tightened the ropes just a little more. The body stretched farther than it was ever meant to. Shoulders gradually pulled from their sockets, ligaments strained until they tore, joints dislocated one by one. The victim remained completely conscious through much of the ordeal, feeling every movement as the body was forced beyond its natural limits. The cruelty wasn't speed, it was patience. The increase in pain grew so gradually that victims often remained alive for hours, sometimes confessing simply because they believed anything was better than enduring another minute. Some survived, but many never recovered. Broken joints, damaged nerves, and permanent disabilities followed them for the rest of their lives. Perhaps the most famous victim was Anne Askew, an English Protestant tortured on the rack in 1446 because of her religious beliefs, before being later executed. Her story reminds us that torture was rarely about discovering the truth. More often, it was about forcing obedience.